Welcome to this fall series of Healing Conversations. I'm Loren Gailey, and I'm so happy you could join us. These healing conversations will inspire, uplift, and empower your life. Listen in to the 24 great speakers this season. For MP3s and transcripts, please visit acoustichealth.com and click on Radio Show. Sit back and journey with us in this healing conversation. This is show number 17 in the Fall Series 2012. And today we are going to be talking about how we can identify our true passion and desire, one that is from our true heart and not from any other entity or someone else's desire. My guest today is Alicia Mary Smith. Now, this is a very special woman. She is a multidimensional teacher, an energy alchemist, and a healer. And Alicia Mary has literally traveled the world. She's lived around the planet, and she has learned ancient and timeless wisdom over her 30 years on this spiritual path. And she has been teaching and guiding thousands of people around the world, taking them on inspirational journeys. So we've got a lot to talk about today with beautiful Alicia Mary Smith. Thank you for joining us on Healing Conversations.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor and a humbling experience to hear anything that's said about yourself. And for those of you who don't know, I'm speaking to you from the island of Cyprus in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is also known as the birthplace of Aphrodite. So I'm speaking to you from this little island in the sun.
And right now, it really is in the sun. It's beautiful where you are. You're near the ocean. And you have a lot to share with us. We'll talk more about the birthplace of Aphrodite. But let's go to our topic today.
Yeah.
We're going to tap into the feeling of truth in this healing conversation and learn how true to our hearts are we really being. So we talked earlier about a truth detector. Can you explain more?
Well, I know that for myself, and I'm sure that for many others, especially as a youngster, there was a part of me that could just tell when something was being spoken that was truthful. And still today, I feel that. Although there are times when that can get a little muddied, a little covered over with all sorts of other experiences. And there's something about, when your parents try to tell you one thing, but that's not true. They're sort of avoiding telling you the whole truth. And I think that there are also a lot of young ones who are born now who definitely have this truth detector. And it's almost for me as if unless I feel and sense that someone's really telling me the truth, I actually often find myself switching off a little bit in talking to somebody. If I feel like they're not telling me the fullness of who they are, or they're speaking to me from this facade self rather than from what's really at the heart of who you are. And I feel that it's a really beautiful gift within each of us to enhance. Because imagine in our world, if we could always be aware of what's the truth, first and foremost within ourselves. And then when we're looking at experiences, we're listening to people, we're trying to understand certain situations, if we can sense into and feel into what's really true for this time, what's really true for this moment, what's really true for me, then it's going to be much clearer to be more consciously aware of how to step forward and to be more discerning about how to move forward. So I think I shared with you before, Lauren, about testing this out a little bit. And when I've given talks, and a couple just recently, when I've actually said to people, I'm going to tell you a few stories. And some of those stories may be true and some of them not true. And see if you can feel with your heart, as well as, of course, use your mind. See if you can sense which ones are true and which ones aren't. And it's almost always the case that most people find the one that isn't true, they think is true, and the ones that aren't true are true. They seem to always feel that something that's not necessarily truthful is, and it doesn't matter to me whether they believe me or not. But what matters is how well you are able to sense what's true. And we just look from a political perspective, as in a lot of politicians are telling us certain things, or a company is saying something to you, or your spouse or your boyfriend is saying something to you, and being able to feel into the truth. But more importantly than anything is, when I look in the mirror, am I being truthful with myself? And that's not always that obvious, but for me, it's a feeling experience. And even when I feel that I've felt the truth, perhaps there's some feelings underneath those feelings that might be covering over what is even more clear and more true. So I feel like it's one of those muscles within us, one of those abilities that's in all of us to enhance. And for me, to know the truth more clearly, I have to go into my heart space, because it's more of a sense of a feeling rather than something I can logically work out. And it's usually when people try to logically understand or work something out, that's when they are not so easily able to detect what's true and what's not true. Does this make some sense to you, Lauren?
Yes, if we are too much in our mind trying to analyze it, what you're saying is that it's all in the heart, but it's also the mind. So if we can feel with the heart and use the mind, we'll be able to detect what truth is. But you also mentioned that there's some layers, some feelings that may cover up another part of a deeper truth. So
exactly.
What is this gauge then? Is it a constriction of the heart? Is it a negative feeling? Can you explain more of the feelings?
So part of that for me, in my experience, and of course all of us have a limited experience according to our own lives. So I can't tell you that I know the whole truth, but I'm telling you as far as I've experienced. For me, when I absolutely know something is true, well, I'm sure many of you have had this experience who are listening. You have those sort of goosebumps all over you. And it feels like, oh, gosh, there's a truth. It can also be that sometimes I will suddenly be overwhelmed with tears and emotions, and it feels like I'm realizing some truth in there. Or it can be this bubbly, joyous feeling, almost like I'm a little child sensing something. So in different ways it can come to each of us, and I've experienced all of those and more ways of feeling that. But when I say about feelings underneath feelings, so for example, I suddenly feel overwhelmed with tears of realizing that truth, instead of just saying, oh, that's the truth, well, what's underneath that? Is there something else for me to look at without just deciding, okay, well, that's it, that's the truth? Let me always be in a place of exploring a possibility. Is there more to that truth? Is there a deeper root? Is there a deeper causal situation that has me want to go down that route, go down that rabbit hole, if you like, of feeling into what else is true? So for me, it's that sense of always exploring, always trying to uncover and discover something more. And I feel that there are many things that we feel are the truth, and yet each day we're learning. So we realize, oh yes, that was the truth, but now I see something even more, or I feel a more expanded awareness, and now something else becomes clearer in that truth to me. And of course, we're learning all the time, and so we have to allow a certain amount of flexibility in our aligning with what is true. And really in these times, of course, as we know, things are constantly and intensely changing. What is true in each moment is very important. And it's almost like this truth detector, as a label, is something we want to be checking in with all the time. What is true for me right now? What is true for you right now? Listening to somebody sharing with you, don't take it that what I'm saying is absolute truth. Listen in and feel into your own heart. What are you feeling when you hear these words? What are you feeling when you can just sense the resonance of a voice? Feel underneath those feelings, because so many times we play certain roles, like Lauren and I are playing a role at the moment of having an interview, someone interviewing, someone speaking. And so you want to sense into, well, what's underneath that? Who are these two people? If I could see them clear and I could see truly who they are at their pure essence, what else would I see? What else would I feel? And we want to do that for ourselves as well. And we want to allow ourselves to be naked in that, almost like turn ourselves inside out. Let ourselves be truly seen, the truth of who we are.
So it's wonderful because it's a way for us to look at other people, even in our relationships, and even sense someone's energy field.
Absolutely. And I can sense just a few people may pick up on what is truth and what is not truth, in as much as you could use that in a dualistic way, making one thing right and one thing wrong. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying simply listen to what is true for you now without making something right or wrong. It's more about being able to see more clearly who I am, why am I here, what is the next step, how can I allow myself to be more loving, and let myself open up to the divine truth more, not just my little truth of what I know as this child of the divine, but what's the truth of the universe? What's God's truth? What's the Creator's truth? And see our lives and see ourselves from that perspective. When we may see a truth as being, oh goodness, I was terrible, I was a bad person, or I did this and it wasn't good. Whereas if we look from Creator's perspective, it might be, oh, well done. Good for you for trying, even though you fell over. Well done. I love you anyway. So we have to be able to learn to see from many different perspectives and see how we can use truth in a way to help us keep clarifying, keep seeing more clearly, keep allowing ourselves to open the doorways so we can more fully love. Because for me, it's almost like truth. And by the way, for those of you who might be called Alison, Alexander, or Alicia, your name actually in Greek, the root of the name means truth. So be aware of that. If your name means that, we need to be even more conscious of that. So in being aware of that more, it helps us open the doorway to what's really underneath, to be able to see myself truly that. And again, I think that we spoke of this briefly, Lauren. Like, I can look at myself as being a very joyful, happy person. I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to swim with dolphins. Lots of things I love doing. I love just being in nature, being in the harmony, splashing in the waves, lots of things. But there is also another part of me that from some wounded parts of me that I may have not completely healed yet. I may have done a lot of work around it and maybe dissolved a lot of things, but I may still have some wounds in me that has me sometimes feel very sad, go into depression, may have me feel lonely. I may feel judged, I may feel angry, I may feel jealous, I may feel misunderstood. All of these other things that are also a part of me. And if I keep digging, keep allowing myself, show me the truth, let me feel the truth, I will not live in the facade of all of this. I will keep uncovering. And as I release more and more of any of those wounds, I will give more space for me to truly be that happy, joyful, free spirit that I am. But I mustn't ignore that I may well have some wounded parts, that I may have some parts that, even though I've spent years healing that, there may be some more. Because again, in this time of 2012 and these intense electromagnetic storms and intense Uranus-Pluto squares and all these energies right now, of course, even though we seem to have cleaned the windows beautifully, we may realize that as that light shines more and as we open up to more of the divine truth, that actually there's more for us to release, more for us to resolve, more for us to let go of and clear away. And for me, it feels like a continual journey. It isn't something that ends, because in a way, there's more and more and more and more love. And so the more I keep allowing myself to go within the feelings, underneath the feelings, underneath the feelings, the more I open myself to more and more feelings of joy, of love, of bliss, of deeper sense of peace.
For the entire conversation, visit acoustichealth.com and click on Radio Show and register for the 24-show series of healing conversations. I now leave you with music from the universe, literally created by the universe, as musical composer Phil Windsor assigned musical notes to mathematical equations, and the result is this beautiful music. Visit acoustichealth.com.